Shrewd Manager Christianity's position. The first undisputed owners of the shroud were not forgers. The last video shows that faking the shroud to profit from the relic trade doesn't make sense, but assume the Charnys family faked it anyway. Does this make more sense? No, less. Here are 11 reasons. First, if he faked it, Geoffroy de Charny unwisely chose a subject not mentioned in the Gospels. Jesus' burial cloth is mentioned, but his image on it is not. This choice provokes unnecessary doubt. Second, he chose to portray Jesus naked. This risks offending virtually every pilgrim, his target market. Third, he put blood on the image. Medieval churchmen had long argued that as Christ had been resurrected, it is impossible for any of his body, including his blood, to be left behind. Why would a forger invite this debate? Fourth, Geoffroy's infrastructure was a handicap in the relic business. His remote estate was inaccessible, a 3-week round trip from the nearest major pilgrimage route. He'd need a lot of publicity to entice pilgrims, but publicity risks drawing the local bishop's attention to his scam. A secondary route was much closer, but it led to this bishop's cathedral. That's like selling stolen goods next to a police station. Chattering pilgrims would likely visit both, giving up the game. This same bishop audited Geoffroy's church every year and could report suspicious actions directly to the Pope. Moreover, he couldn't show the shroud from the trunk of his Toyota. He needed a proper church. After years petitioning to build a collegiate church, approval came 4 months before Geoffroy died in battle. He encamped with the king for most of those months. Consider the implications. He faked the shroud before he had a suitable church to keep it in. There's no profit until the costs of building a new church are paid. Fifth, by faking a relic from Christ's Passion, Geoffroy made it more likely he'd get caught, because these require papal approval. His bishop could simply ask to see the approval, something Geoffroy never asked for nor received. Sixth, he stifled potential profit in several ways. He could have just imprinted Jesus' face, but instead chose 2 full-body images. The greater the costs, the smaller the profit. Instead of bones or hair clippings of saints, he chose to fake a sophisticated artifact using a unique process that still baffles. Plus, he used it to create a one-and-done subject. Why not multiply profits with multiple relics? Since he was fine straying from explicit biblical texts, why not fake multiple relics like face imprints of all the apostles? Or simpler, cut up the shroud, then sell to other unscrupulous charlatans, the face to one, the hands to another, the feet and side wound to others. Seventh, hoaxes need a backstory. Where's his? His son Geoffroy II, and much later his granddaughter Marguerite, both testified that he legally acquired the shroud, but neither says how. If he crafted a backstory, why didn't they know and use it? If he didn't, what kind of a scammer doesn't fake a backstory? Backstories are easy. This book gives over a dozen historical instances of one effective approach. He could claim he had a vision of Jesus' image on a burial cloth, then lead a crew to miraculously find it exactly where his vision told him to look. Simple. Eighth, Geoffroy was a deeply religious and patriotic warrior. He doesn't fit the profile of a forger. He literally wrote the book of knightly chivalry, professing things like, "I'll never be content until I can find the place where I can serve God, and if you flee from battle, you'll bring dishonor on yourself." Anyone can write death before dishonor, but Geoffroy lived it, or rather died it. He died at his king's side, surrounded by the charging enemy. Even his English foes admired his courage. Ninth, there is no contemporary evidence that Geoffroy ever disclosed that he even possessed the shroud, let alone tried peddling it as a relic. Concealed relics don't raise money. Building on archaeology, preeminent shroud scholar Ian Wilson surmises that the shroud's first showing wasn't until 1357, a year after Geoffroy died. This pilgrim badge shows the shroud and 2 shields. Heraldry experts say Geoffroy's shield placement on the viewer's right shows he was dead. His wife's shield on the left shows she was the prime mover behind the showing. She was likely in her late teens when he died, leaving her with a small child, many expenses, and limited resources. Desperation, not deceit, likely explains her actions. 10th, after this showing, neither Geoffroy's wife nor son showed it for 3 decades. Again, why hide this moneymaker for so many years? Wilson postulates that this second badge is from Geoffroy II's 1389 showing. Unlike shroud badges before and after, it depicts an empty tomb. Geoffroy II likely exhibited the shroud for religious, not strictly monetary reasons, the badge showing why he needed money, to recapture Jesus' tomb, the altruistic purpose to which he would devote what remained of his life. 11th, in 1453, after years of successfully fighting off legal challenges, Marguerite transferred it to the Duke of Savoy, who surrendered 2 castles to gain ownership of the cloth. Ever since, it has been regarded as the most precious treasure of the House of Savoy. So, worried about the shroud's security and her own, she knew its value and held out for a vast sum. For the next 500 years, the Savoys treated it as authentic. In sum, to fake the shroud for money requires a Ph.D. level master forger with a third grader's lemonade stand view of economics. Kind of a medieval Rain Man autistic savant. And the Charnys are a particularly bad choice for a relic faking crime syndicate. Next, the many problems with the famous carbon-14 tests.